She was such a great person.
But what makes this story even more layered is how calculated everything appears in hindsight. Beyoncé didn't just become a star, she became a blueprint for what a modern pop superstar could be. And in doing so, she may have absorbed the legacy of those who paved the way. Mariah Carey, the blueprint of 90s vocal domination, once seemed untouchable. Her 5-octave range, her Christmas reign, her songwriting, these were untouchable facets of her identity. But slowly, as Beyoncé's influence grew, the focus of the industry shifted. Radio trends changed, media coverage waned, and younger audiences were fed a new archetype, one that looked a lot like Mariah's legacy in Beyoncé's package. And yet, despite all these swirling accusations, from song similarities to performance mimicry to entire release strategies, Beyoncé remains largely unscathed in the public eye. Why? Because she is a master of reinvention. She surrounds herself with cutting-edge creatives. She uses mystery to maintain power. She is undeniably one of the most talented performers of our time. But in a world that rewards originality, the question looms large. Is Beyoncé truly a pioneer or a polished collector of brilliance? Let's not forget the case of Khalees, who accused Beyoncé of using elements of her song, Milkshake, in Renaissance's track Energy, without proper permission or credit. Khalees expressed that her issue wasn't even legal, it was ethical. "It's not about giving me credit," she said. "It's about the fact that I was blatantly disrespected." Though Beyoncé eventually removed the sample, the damage was done, and it reignited old conversations about how much of Beyoncé's empire is built atop the uncredited work of others. Still, many defend Beyoncé by pointing out that the music industry is built on borrowing and reinterpreting. After all, pop culture is a remix machine. Sampling, referencing, and reimagining are part of the game. Legends like Madonna, Janet Jackson, and even Michael Jackson were no strangers to taking inspiration from others. But the line between homage and erasure is razor thin, especially when the original creators like Amory, Khalees, or even Mariah are pushed to the margins or forgotten entirely in mainstream discourse. What makes this particularly painful for fans is the emotional betrayal tied to the Beyoncé Mariah dynamic. This wasn't just a case of one artist drawing from another. It was a story of admiration, of a young girl being inspired by a legend, only for that legend to allegedly be left behind in the climb to stardom. That's what makes this narrative hit differently. It's not diva drama, it's mentor to muse to memory, all in the blink of a career. What makes this particularly painful for fans is the emotional betrayal tied to the Beyoncé Mariah dynamic. This wasn't just a case of one artist drawing from another. It was a story of admiration, of a young girl being inspired by a legend, only for that legend to allegedly be left behind in the climb to stardom. That's what makes this narrative hit differently. It's not diva drama, it's mentor to muse to memory, all in the blink of a career. And here's where Jennifer Lopez re-enters the frame. Over the years, J.Lo and Mariah have famously been portrayed as rivals. I don't know her, anyone? But if the whispers are true, and if Lopez has indeed hinted that Beyoncé may have played her own part in marginalizing Mariah, then we're looking at a full circle of power dynamics, industry politics, and behind-the-scenes whispers that have shaped careers without fans even realizing it. Let's zoom out. Mariah Carey is still a legend. Her legacy is cemented. No TikTok trend or surprise album can erase her record-breaking Billboard stats or her cultural dominance during the 90s and early 2000s. But the question lingers, why isn't her influence more visible in today's narrative? Why do newer fans talk about vocal mastery and visual storytelling as if it started with Beyoncé, when Mariah was doing that decades earlier? This isn't about tearing Beyoncé down. It's about asking real questions in a culture that often erases the past to elevate the present. How many of Beyoncé's career moves were original? How many were brilliant executions of someone else's blueprint? And in the process, how many artists, especially Black women like Amory, Khalees, or even Mariah, were left behind, their innovations cannibalized for someone else's glory? In the end, the truth may never fully come out. Music history is messy, and narratives are shaped by those in power. Beyoncé is a powerhouse, no doubt, but as the whispers grow louder, Fans and critics alike are demanding more transparency, more credit sharing, and more honesty about the difference between being inspired and taking inspiration without acknowledgement. Until then, the spotlight may shine brightest on Beyoncé, but the shadows behind her are filled with voices still waiting to be heard.